What happens when a former president finally says what the whole country's been whispering? Last night, Barack Obama looked straight into the camera and called Donald Trump the least qualified president in modern history. Live, unedited, and unstoppable. America didn't breathe. Last night, something happened on live TV that made the entire country sit up a little straighter. During what was supposed to be a calm presidential forum about the economy and foreign policy, Barack Obama sat down in a studio in Atlanta, relaxed in his Navy suit, smiling that quiet, knowing smile he's famous for.
In any kind of competition, pouted and then accused the other side of cheating when they lost. When there was no evidence of it, we'd scold them.
The moderator, surrounded by teachers, nurses, and small business owners, asked him about recent decisions from President Trump that had left even Republicans confused.
Legislation that would represent the most significant reform to our immigration system in a half a century. I want to thank Senator.
Obama paused just long enough to make the room freeze, then said calmly, "We're watching a country deal with the consequences of having perhaps the least qualified president in our modern history."
Issues, facts, policies per se don't matter as much as identity and wanting to see doesn't work if we don't have an informed citizenry. This democracy doesn't work if we don't have responsible elected officials.
No anger, no drama, just truth delivered like a warning from someone who didn't want to give it, but felt he had to. The audience didn't clap, didn't even breathe, and even the cameras seemed to hesitate, as if unsure they were allowed to capture what had just been said. Within minutes, the clips spread everywhere. In Milwaukee, roommates rewound it over dinner. In Houston barbershops, people leaned over phones whispering, "He really said it." In Sacramento office break rooms, workers watched it on tablets in stunned silence. College students watched it between TikTok dances. Teachers discussed it during planning periods, and nurses replayed it in hospital hallways after long shifts. The reaction wasn't shock at the words, it was shock at the tone, calm, controlled, almost surgical. This wasn't a political jab, it was a quiet alarm bell ringing across the country.
Between somebody who is as qualified as has ever been to run for this office.
Inside the White House, the atmosphere was the opposite. Aides scrambled, the press secretary paced in circles, legal counsel was pulled into late-night calls, and senior advisors whispered about damage control. Trump demanded an immediate response, but his team begged him to wait until morning. They knew the more frantic the reaction, the bigger the story would grow. But outside Washington, people didn't panic. They reflected. In diners, grocery store parking lots, factory floors, firehouses, and family kitchens, people finally felt like someone had said out loud what they'd been whispering for months. The country was drifting into confusion, and nobody in charge seemed steady enough to anchor it. And just when the country thought Obama would fade back into silence, he appeared the next morning at a small community center on the south side of Chicago. No teleprompter, no entourage, just him in a gray sweater and jeans. He stepped onto a makeshift stage and explained why he spoke so bluntly.
Hey, we needed a leader with the character to put politics aside and do what was right. At a time when our economy was reeling, we needed a leader with the determination to drive.
Because people deserve clarity, because leadership requires stability, because silence is dangerous when the stakes affect millions.
Everything was really good in 2008. When we were going through the worst economic crisis in our lifetimes, unemployment and uninsured rates were up. And
leadership isn't about being perfect, he told the crowd. It's about being responsible. And when things start to feel dangerous, someone has to speak up. His tone wasn't angry. It carried the weight of a disappointed parent, the kind of voice that makes you listen, whether you want to or not. By afternoon, polls showed a sharp dip in trust and a spike in awareness. People were connecting the dots. Sudden policy shifts, mixed messages, global confusion, military corrections. The chaos wasn't random. It was coming from the top. When Obama released a short message from his home that evening,
a country where too many Americans are still struggling.
He didn't attack or gloat. He simply reminded America that democracy doesn't survive on silence. It survives on participation, on accountability, on courage. His message settled into homes across the country like a quiet, steady truth. Leadership isn't the loudest voice in the room. Leadership is the clearest one, the one that speaks when everything is starting to slip into danger. And last night, for millions of Americans, Obama's calm warning wasn't just heard, it was finally felt.